Hello and welcome to CRIVLOG TV, where we make sense of how the mind works. My name is Aerez Batat, and today I'm going to list 5 signs that you might be suffering from cannabis dependency. Let's begin. Hey, welcome back. My name is Aerez. I'm an author, a metaphysicist, a consciousness researcher, and a cannabis enthusiast. I'm also the creator of Consciously High, a 28-day journey to help people let go of their cannabis dependency. I've researched the impact of cannabis on the mind for over 10 years. I've been using it for over a decade, and I've suffered cannabis dependency myself. So everything I talk about and everything I teach is out of first-hand experience. So let's just dive in. Sign number 1 that you might be dependent on cannabis is that you can't remember the last time you were mentally clear out of the impact of THC for over, let's say, 3 to 4 days. Even if you smoke on a regular basis, many of us, are going to stop smoking for a couple of days and then we go right back in. It's sort of like this infinite loop because we're going to be smoking and then we're going to have a little bit of withdrawal symptoms. And the withdrawal symptoms are usually mental. Usually we're going to feel the anxiety that because of which we're smoking cannabis, or just unease, or some kind of an emotional swing. And then we're going to go back to consuming it. So I would say that a good break to say that you've let go of cannabis for a significant amount of time, I would say that's probably a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. After about a month, cannabis is completely out of your system. So if you don't remember the last time you quit smoking cannabis for at least 3 to 4 days, but I would say at least 2 weeks, you might be suffering from cannabis dependency. I've worked with people who smoked cannabis for over 20 years and helped them eliminate their dependency. So if you're one of these people, you're not alone, all right? Let's go to the second sign you might be suffering from cannabis dependency. You might remember the last time you stopped. It might have been even last month, but you might be oscillating between periods of smoking a lot, really abusing it, and periods of not smoking at all. You might have this inner conflict between the part of you that wants to smoke, that really loves it, and the part of you that doesn't want to smoke at all. And I was in one of these situations. And what I found that in the times when I was smoking, because I knew that I didn't really want to smoke, at least not on a regular basis, not on a habitual basis, I would smoke more because I would say, oh, soon I'm going to stop. And then there was some kind of an abuse of the substance up to the point where I was just like, okay, it's just gross. I just have to stop. So if you're one of these people who's oscillating between using it a lot, not using it at all, and you suffer from that inner conflict, that struggle between the part of you that wants to smoke and the part of you that doesn't want to smoke, you're probably suffering from cannabis dependency. Sign number 3, where you're about to go on a trip, or let's say you're about to go to the movies or to a party or any camping maybe, any type of an event, any type of a scenario that you're sort of out of the ordinary, you immediately start thinking, how am I going to take cannabis with me? And you might have this feeling where, oh, really, I'm going to go to the movies and I'm not going to take a little puff before. Everything seems to be better when we smoke cannabis because the senses are intensified. And so things that are funny are more funny. Food tastes better. And so if you have that feeling that you just want to attach cannabis to everything, then you might be suffering from dependency. Okay? I remember that when I was suffering from dependency, every time I would go on a trip, I would say, ooh, I really want to take cannabis with me. And if I would go to a place where it would be illegal or there would be trouble taking it with me, then I would really feel anxious about it. And I would try to find ways to do that to the point where it would become obsessive. And, I would have to tell myself, just let it go, just let it go. And so if you find yourself in that situation, or when you go on a trip, you immediately looking and say, oh, I think this person's smoking, maybe I'm going to hook myself up, you are probably suffering from cannabis dependency. Sign number 4. When you're not smoking or ingesting cannabis for a few hours, you're starting to feel anxious, starting to feel just an uncomfortable feeling that is causing you to start thinking about it. Most of us smoke cannabis or ingest it because of something. It's some kind of an escape. Maybe it's the ongoing anxiety, maybe it's the pressure of life, maybe it's helping us think, and when we don't smoke cannabis, our mind feels a little hazy. Whatever it is, if you're not ingesting cannabis for a few hours or maybe a day, you're starting to feel that same, you're not quite in your element. You don't quite love yourself as much when you're not smoking cannabis. If that's the case, if you love yourself more when you're smoking cannabis, you're probably suffering from some kind of a dependency. Addiction and dependency are not the same thing. When we're addicted to something, it means that we cannot let it go. We've lost control. Having a dependency to cannabis or to any substance means that we're dependent on it to function, dependent on it to feel good. And you might say that dependency is one step before being addicted. You might be able to stop using cannabis if you want, but you're not going to be able to function well. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do. You're not going to be able to interact with society the way you want to. You might be suffering from social anxiety. Whatever it is, you're dependent on the substance in order to function the way you want to function. Maybe you just can't love yourself. Maybe you just can't appreciate who you are without the substance. And there's something that happens when you smoke cannabis that really makes you feel good about yourself. That's also a dependency. And that would be our fourth sign. The fifth sign that you might be addicted to cannabis is that you're watching this video right now and trying to figure out if you're one of these people. We all have this inner intuition that tells us when something is wrong. And there's a very fine line between using cannabis as a tool and using it as a crutch. And if you're watching this video, if you Googled it or if you saw it on YouTube and decided to click, if you have that questioning place of saying, hey, am I smoking cannabis too much? You probably have some form or some level of dependency on the substance. In Consciously High, my 28-day journey to eliminate cannabis dependency, I talk about these things. The entire idea of the course is to help you regain control and regain authority over the substance. I believe, and from my experience, you don't have to throw the baby with the bathwater. In the Global Drug Survey, it's been shown that over 20% of cannabis users suffer from some kind of a dependency, and just about 10% are practically addicted. And almost 30% said that very often their cannabis use is somewhat out of control. So it's very common. Now, the question is, do you have to let go of the substance altogether? A lot of people who smoke cannabis and dependent on it don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater. You want to reform your habits, but you don't want to completely lose the ability to use the substance at all. And what we do in Consciously High is we go through a process that allows you to reform, to transform your habits when it comes to using cannabis, and allows you to regain control. If you want to stop altogether, then fine, but you are walking out of this course, walking out of this class with the ability to decide what you're going to do, with the ability to determine how your relationship with cannabis is going to be. So I hope this was helpful. And if you feel like you're suffering from cannabis dependency, check out Consciously High on weedoutthehabit.com.